Why are the fields of Europe echoing with the sounds of protest instead of the hum of tractors? Why are the farmers, the backbone of our food supply, up in arms? As dawn breaks over the verdant landscape, instead of the usual symphony of nature harmonizing with the engine of tractors, the air is filled with a different tune. This is a tune of dissent, a melody of resistance, resonating from the heartland of Europe, straight from the heart of its farmers. Farmers, the silent heroes who toil from dawn to dusk, nurturing the earth, providing sustenance for millions, are now making their voices heard. Their fields have become battlegrounds, their tractors not just tools for tilling the soil, but symbols of their protest. Imagine this: roads blocked with tractors, not in a show of might, but in a demonstration of desperation. Farmers, traditionally seen as the epitome of resilience and patience, have found themselves cornered, their livelihoods under threat. And so, they've taken to the streets, their tractors lined up like an unyielding wall, a bulwark against the policies they feel are suffocating them. Then there's the manure, the lifeblood of the soil, being sprayed not on the fields to nourish the crops but on buildings, a potent symbol of their discontent. It's not an act of vandalism but a cry for attention, a visceral reminder of the earthy reality they grapple with every day. This revolt is not born out of a whim, but out of a deep-seated discontent, a feeling of being cornered, of being unheard. The farmers of Europe are not just fighting for their livelihoods, but for their way of life, a way of life they believe is under threat. The images might be dramatic, the actions drastic, but they serve a purpose. They are a call to action, a plea for understanding, a demand for change. These are not mere acts of rebellion, they are desperate pleas for help, a call for understanding and action. So what's fueling this farmer fury? The root of this discontent lies in the labyrinth of new policies and economic factors. The European Union, in its noble pursuit of a greener future, has rolled out a series of climate initiatives that, while well-intentioned, have left farmers grappling with skyrocketing costs. Central to this is the ambitious Green Deal, a policy aiming for climate neutrality by 2050. It's a lofty goal, but for the farmers tilling the fields, it's a goal that comes with a steep price. Suddenly, they're being asked to overhaul their practices, to invest in new machinery, to adopt new farming techniques, all in the name of environmental sustainability. But who's going to foot the bill? High inflation exacerbates the issue, squeezing farmers even tighter. The cost of everything from feed to fertilizer is on the rise, pushing their operational expenses through the barn roof. Then there's the issue of free trade agreements. These pacts, designed to stimulate economic activity across borders, have an unintended side effect. They could undercut farmer prices. Imagine pouring your heart and soul into your crops, only to find that imported goods are selling for less than your homegrown produce. It's a bitter pill to swallow. Farmers aren't just fighting for their livelihoods, they're fighting for their way of life. Is the path to a greener future paved with the struggles of our farmers? This question has been echoing across the European continent as the Green Deal takes center stage. The Green Deal, the European Union's ambitious climate initiative, aims for climate neutrality by the year 2050. But what does this mean for the farmers? Farmers are the unsung heroes, the backbone of our societies, providing us with the food we eat day in and day out. Yet these very heroes are being asked to bear the brunt of the changes required to achieve these climate goals. The Green Deal's commitment to cutting emissions by 90% by the year 2040 puts immense pressure on their shoulders. Imagine waking up one day to find that the way you've been farming, the methods passed down through generations, are now being labeled as harmful, as contributors to climate change. The tools of your trade, be it tractors or pesticides, are now under scrutiny. Suddenly, you're asked to change, to adapt, to overhaul your way of life, and that too, within a tight time frame. The strain is real, and it's heavy. The Green Deal, while noble in its quest to save the planet, doesn't seem to account for the real-world challenges that farmers face. High costs of transition, lack of access to sustainable alternatives, and the threat of undercut prices due to free trade agreements. These are just a few of the issues that farmers grapple with. Farmers are not against progress, they are not against saving our planet. What they ask for is consideration, for their voices to be heard, for their struggles to be acknowledged. They ask for a transition that is just and fair, one that doesn't leave them out in the cold. As we move towards a greener future, it's essential to remember that our farmers are a crucial part of this journey. Their concerns need to be addressed, their voices need to be heard, and their roles need to be respected. The Green Deal, while noble in its intentions, has left farmers feeling green around the gills. Let's hope that as we move forward, we can find a way to make the Green Deal a win-win for everyone, including our hard-working farmers. When the fields fall silent, the tractors speak louder. This is the rallying cry of farmers across Europe, a testament to the power of their collective voice. Their protests have echoed through the streets and highways, from the rolling green fields of Ireland to the sun-soaked vineyards of Italy. These protests are not just a few disgruntled voices, but a chorus of thousands, unified in their discontent. Their tractors have become symbols of resistance, blockading roads, and making their presence felt in the heart of major cities. They've used the fruits of their labor as tools of protest, setting hay bales alight and spraying liquid manure at government buildings. It's a vivid, powerful message that refuses to be ignored. Yet these demonstrations aren't merely about creating chaos or disrupting daily life. They're about drawing attention to the struggles of the farming community, about making their voices heard in the corridors of power. And their voices have indeed been heard. The European Union, in response to the monumental pressure exerted by these protests, scrapped its plans to halve pesticide use by 2030. This decision, though seemingly small, signifies a major victory for farmers. It demonstrates the power of protest, of collective action. It shows that when farmers stand together, they can influence policy at the highest levels. These protests are not just about pesticides or the Green Deal, or even about farming in general. They're about the right to a fair livelihood, about the survival of communities that have been rooted in agriculture for generations. They're about preserving a way of life that is under threat from forces beyond their control. In the face of these threats, farmers have shown remarkable strength and resilience. They've stood their ground, weathered the storms, and fought for what they believe in. Through their protests, they've shown the world the true power of the farming community, the true strength of their resolve. So as we look at these protests and the impact they've had, we must remember that they are more than just a show of force. They are a testament to the strength and resilience of our farmers. They are a beacon of hope in the struggle for a fair and sustainable future. These protests are more than just a show of force. They are a testament to the strength and resilience of our farmers. How do you balance the scales of progress and tradition? That's the million-dollar question facing leaders across Europe today. It's a tightrope, a high-stakes game of give and take, where the stakes are our future and our past. Take, for instance, French President Emmanuel Macron and Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban. They're on the front line, walking this precarious tightrope. On one side, they're shouldering the weight of their nation's farming traditions. Generations of farmers who have tilled the land, sowed the seeds, and reaped the harvests, who have, quite literally, fed their nations. On the other side, they're carrying the weight of our collective future, a future where the specter of climate change looms large, where each decision made today echoes into the decades to come. It's not an easy task, to say the least. It's about finding the delicate balance between supporting the farmers, the backbone of our societies, and yet pushing for environmental goals. Goals that are, in many ways, non-negotiable if we are to secure a sustainable future for our planet. And let's not forget, these aren't just abstract concepts we're dealing with. These are real people, real lives. The decisions made at the top trickle down, impacting the everyday realities of farmers. Their livelihoods, their traditions, their very way of life hangs in the balance. That's why the protests, the voices of dissent, are so important. They're a reminder that this is not just about numbers on a page, about percentages and targets. It's about people. So as we navigate this balancing act, it's crucial to remember that it's not a zero-sum game. Progress doesn't have to come at the cost of tradition. Innovation doesn't have to mean the end of our rich farming heritage. There is a middle ground, a way to honor our past while still looking towards our future. As we stand at this crossroads, one thing is clear. The voice of our farmers cannot and should not be ignored.